Hi, sweet ones, and welcome to this week's episode of Embodied Divinity. Big deep breaths as we settle in. I've been going with the flow, like really, really going with the flow. It feels so good and deepening into authenticity. And I've decided no more podcast intros, no more trying to make anything look or feel any prettier than it naturally is. Just complete and total self acceptance, surrender into ease and simplicity, and allowing it all to just be is the new way up in here. And I hope you love it as much as I do. I really do. It's felt so good. And honestly, like the inspiration of just being in the flow and letting go of any ideas or constructs or habits or anything that I had, and just allowing way for the new and really trusting that I will intuitively show up without like the rigidity or steadfast structure, and instead like a loose structure set by intentions and what I want to experience in life just feels so good. So, we are in Saturn retrograde. It's nothing to panic about. I know a lot of people are panicked. Big deep breaths. It's not a big deal. It's actually a really beautiful lesson and blessing. And we might be all over the place today because, again, allowing inspiration to flow through, trust that whatever is meant to find you here will find you. But basically, until November 15th, with this retrograde, we are being shown all these pieces and parts that we've been working on the last 6 months. And as we go into this next cycle, it's like this deepening into what have you really learned? How have you really evolved? What are you really choosing? And for me, what's come up is like just this beautiful sense of self devotion, AKA discipline, and the way I've been able to show up for myself and really go with the flow of what sets my heart on fire, and just really allowing divine inspiration to take the lead while being fully embodied in the human experience feels so good. And it's about accepting life as it is. I talk about this pretty much every episode. If you've been listening for a while, you're like, Nikayla, we've heard this for the past 365 episodes. Just kidding. There's only 135 up right now, but you know what I mean? I say it so often. We cannot argue with life. Whatever is here now is happening for us. And a lot of people are like, but what you put out, you get back. And that's true to a point, but there's also this balance of like, you don't know everything the universe has in store for you. And you can only think as big as your ego is currently evolved, because thought comes from the ego. Inspiration and knowing, that Gnostic knowing, come from the soul. And so you can only think your way to as high as your ego has evolved. And the universe has such a big, beautiful, expansive plan. Like my life right now is such a dream come true. And I never would have put this life on a vision board. In fact, I just tried to create a vision board with my daughter last week. And I was like, how do I put these feelings? So you see like wide open country, beautiful wildflowers, all of these feelings on this vision board, and nothing standard, because I just want to feel good. I just want to experience life to the fullest. I'm not scared to have my heart broken. I'm not scared of grief. I'm not scared of ecstasy or joy or pleasure. I'm just ready to have this beautiful experience of life without attachment to how it might look or who it might be with or any of the outcomes. Just really trusting that the universe has my back and it has yours too. But what else can be coming up is a lot of shadows that maybe weren't dealt with. For me, my inner child showed me something so beautiful. So we're going to get a little deeper. And I want you to remember, I share my personal experiences. And while they might not be in alignment with exactly what you're experiencing, you can hear and feel the energy of what I'm experiencing. And I know from feedback that you can see it in your own life. So just allow yourself to be open to the understanding of how life has been unfolding for you. I told you guys last week about, yay, my son made this soccer team. So exciting. And then this weekend, I had the most incredible experience. it hurt and it was so incredible. And today I'm just like, whoa, the universe is so cool. I had this experience of so deeply being attached to wanting my son to have a good experience on this team and feeling the way that he wanted to feel included, feeling the way that he wanted to fit in, feeling the way that he just wanted to feel good enough. And I had this experience because we were in a tournament this weekend, and the very first day he didn't get a lot of playing time, and he had worked so hard. He's been obsessed with soccer since he was 4 years old, but this last few months in particular, he's been running 3 miles a day and doing all of this agility training, and he was so confident. And if you remember me last week talking about how prior to that he had been just so berated by this old coach, and his confidence was just so low at the end of the last season, and it took so much to rebuild. And so he steps into this game and he doesn't get a lot of playing time, and he gets in the car and he just breaks down. And my mom heart is hurting, but more so than it should. Like, I'm in it with him, like really in it. And normally I can observe my kids and their pain, and I can hold space for them, and I can do and say all the right things that they need to hear, but I'm unattached to it. But I was so in it with him. It was like I was experiencing with it, and I gave him so much love and comfort. And as I was saying these things, my heart kept stretching and stretching and stretching. And finally around midnight, he fell asleep after we had some really great talks. And I went back to my bedroom, and my inner child showed up, and all the ways that she had felt not good enough or unincluded, or like she had to try harder. And so we go to the game the next day. I talk her through it. I'm calming down. I'm allowing myself to surrender. I advocate for my son. I ask questions of the coach. I ask how he can show up better. It actually goes great. Like, he did nothing wrong. It was a total mistake that he didn't get game time. We're not used to having this many players, blah, blah, blah. And I'm feeling better about it. I have to reaffirm for myself over and over, like, you did the right thing. Because again, the using my voice thing came up with my inner child again. When I was a child, using my voice, stating my opinion, all of these things would get me in trouble. And so I was like almost scared to say anything to the coach. I was almost scared of what it might do, but I did it, and I reassured myself. And then I noticed this deep sense of loneliness after a couple of the games. Like, there's this whole mom group, and they all do this thing, and I'm like in it, talking, whatever, but like this deep sense of loneliness and disconnection. And then again, my neighbor invites me out paddleboarding, but the last few times that I've said yes, it just hasn't felt in alignment, and so I say no. But I'm like, have this so much loneliness. Like, why am I so lonely right now? Like, I have a very fulfilled life, and I'm sitting with my inner child. And it's like she showed me the parts of her that always chose to be, that always, the only friends I ever had didn't understand me. I couldn't really fully be myself with them, but I chose them because they played soccer with me, or they went to the same high school or whatever. But I always felt disconnected, like I couldn't quite all be myself. And that's how it feels with my neighbor, and that's how it feels with my mom group. And I had to remind myself over and over again, you can still love them, and choosing yourself and choosing to be around and with people that are more in alignment with you, and not necessarily have the same beliefs with me, but maybe have the same sense of self-awareness or open-mindedness, that I could fully be my weird self, my awkward self, my fun hyper self, my deep spiritual self. I could bring every aspect of me to the table and feel fully accepted. And I kept reassuring my inner child of that. And it was so cool, because the more this weekend that I reassured my inner child, that I moved into a deeper sense of acceptance. And these were wounds I thought I dealt with long ago. But again, they're coming up with this Saturn in retrograde that started last week. All of these little pieces and parts of our inner child, of our shadows, wanting to be seen and heard. And I was so patient. and so calm with her. And not only did I start to feel myself feeling more wholeness, feeling more joy, feeling more integrated, but I started to see confidence in my son. I started to watch the way that as I comforted and healed that part of my inner child and could hold more space for him and offer more guidance to him, he found his way out too. And it was just this beautiful, deep, amazing, painful, heart-stretching, expanding thing. And then I really didn't do a lot this weekend besides go to soccer and kind of piddle around with some house chores and really sit deeply with this inner child, like really gave her so much time and attention. And I woke up today with such a complete sense of devotion to self. Like it was so easy today. And I'm saying today because I know there's so many people out there that don't specify that they also have hard days where they don't choose themselves. Today I did choose myself fully. And it was easy and it felt so good. And the more I chose myself, the more I chose to use my voice, the more I chose to take care of my body, the more I chose to do the things that I knew served my highest good, the more joy I had, the more confidence I experienced, and the more in my feminine flow I was. And I watched the people around me adjust themselves too. I was not lowering myself to make other people comfortable. I was just standing in my power, accepting others for how they are, fully accepting myself, and just in harmony with life happening for me. And it was such a beautiful experience after like a weekend of like, having all of these feelings come up. And I loved every second of it. And I share all of this for so many reasons. Number one, so that you can see the parts of your inner child and shadow that might have come up and the way that you chose them or didn't choose them, and allowing yourself to have grace for these experiences, knowing that they are happening for you. The more we can sink into gratitude for every moment in life, even the hardest ones, the more expansion we feel, and also the quicker some of the hard things dissolve. Gratitude is like, one of my clients asked me last week, if there was only one spiritual tool that I focused on forever, what would you say? And I immediately just said gratitude. Gratitude returns us to love every single time. Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. And it's sometimes hard to find gratitude, but like even this weekend, I remember having so much gratitude for this experience because it showed me the parts of myself that still felt that way. And it allowed me the opportunity to love her, which is all I want, is for my inner child and all of my shadow selves, because they are all a part of my greater whole. I want them to feel love. I don't want one single inch of me, inside or out, to not feel complete acceptance and love. Because I know when I can fully love and accept myself, my love radiates out into the world and into everyone I meet. And so I was so thankful, as painful as it was and as heartbreaking as it was, I was so grateful for it. But I could also feel gratitude for what was happening with my son. Like, I wasn't just like, oh my gosh, how do I get him out of pain? It was this really deepening of, he is expanding and growing so much through this. And I'm so grateful that I have the tools now to be able to guide him through it so that he can come into acceptance that much faster and more wholly than he might have in a different circumstance. Gratitude gets us back to love every single time. The universe always has a plan for you. No matter what your circumstances are now, if you can find gratitude in these moments and you can allow yourself to deepen into each and every feeling and part of it, such a powerful evolution can take place within. And the more we do this, the more ease and grace we find in life, because the more ease and grace we're giving to ourselves. If you know about gene keys, my main life path is a 22, which is like the divine feminine embodiment of grace. And it makes sense because my 35 years on this earth have been filled with opportunities for me to show myself grace and for me to show others grace. And I haven't always been able to choose grace. And I can say for this last year that I truly live in a state of grace for myself and others. And it's one of the most magical experiences ever because it doesn't matter what I'm feeling or what I'm experiencing or what I'm witnessing in others. There is this presence present that just says, you are love, and so are they. It makes every human experience that much deeper because I can remember the divinity that I am, that you are, that pure loving consciousness that is within and all around this vessel. And I can experience each moment fully without judgment, just knowing I'm evolving and learning. It's why I do the work I do. It's why my embodied divinity mentorship program is so powerful, because it allows other people to walk in their highest self, be in their own self mastery, feel and experience love on a daily basis for themselves and others. It's so beautiful when you can sink into the embodiment of your divinity, when you can be here in this human experience and fully knowing and owning that you are a divine conscious being. So much I could say, but I'm feeling like in this moment we should do a check-in and just put one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly and feel into your essence and say out loud, if you can, I love you. I love you. I love you. And if you can do this throughout your day, just come back to self and I love you. Or if there's a part of your personality or physical body that you're in judgment of, I love you. And say it until it doesn't feel awkward. Say it until it doesn't feel ingenuine, because eventually, after enough I love yous, the ego will lie down and the soul can come forward and the soul will say, I love you, and will receive the love as well. These next coming months are such a beautiful blessing for us to look inside of ourselves, to really deepen into the evolution that we have been through over the last decade, but really deepening into the last 6 months, what we have chosen and what we're going to create for the next 6 months of the calendar year. So without any of the pressure, without any of the rigidity, like I said, I'm letting go of all of that in my own personal life. And that's usually the way, the answer, the clarity that comes with sinking and stepping into flow, is if you can let go of everything you knew before and simply be with life here now, whatever it's showing to you, whatever is coming up for you, be in total and complete acceptance of it. And just come back to, I love you. I'm right here if you desire support or guidance. Like I said last week, I'm moving all of my offerings to either donation basis or sliding scale, really stepping into model of what it looks like to exist in the new earth, where equality, community, unity, and love reign. And each and every human experiences wealth in all forms. We get to be the change we wish to see in the world. And I'm so honored to be that here and now. Stay tuned Friday for a brand new meditation. This one's going to be a subliminal sleep meditation to help you reprogram your inner psyche to be more in tune with the here and the now and the love of the universe. I hope you enjoy it. I love you guys so much. As always, breathe deep and plan on miracles. See you next week.